Okay. Go ahead. I don't have like a preamble.
Do you expect to be pretty inactive in the next week?
I don't know. I think it's. I don't think anybody's inactive. I think every year you kind of have a guess of what you might do or might not do, and usually you're wrong because you just don't know. I mean, there's other teams that present things that maybe you didn't foresee, but we'll see. I mean, the good news is I think we're pretty healthy. We know who we are, but we're not. I don't expect any big changes, but we'll see. You never know.
How about the buyout scenarios? Or do you have a preference of wing center, or is it more just available?
I don't know. I mean, we'll see who's bought out first of all, and then if it's a player we think makes sense that can help us win a championship, then we'll look at it. Whether it's a wing or a big, it's hard to know right now. I guess we're still probably a week or so away from those things happening. But I do like the fact that we're pretty healthy, so there's no dire need for anything. But if we see a player that makes sense and can help us, we'll pursue it. But right now, until the trade deadline's over, we're not speculating a ton on who those guys will be.
Do you see you guys keeping that 15th spot going into the playoffs? Not going into that spot?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it depends on also, was it last year we made a change near the end of a player that was it Quinn Cook? If we have a setback with one of our players and we need to add somebody, we've got guys on two ways. Damian Lee's been pretty good. Derrickson, you can convert guys like that. So I think the general sense is if we see somebody that helps us, that fits that spot, we'll do it. If we don't, we won't. We don't have to, but we may reserve the right to do it heading into the playoffs if it makes sense. If it's not a guy that was on an NBA roster, we can still do that.
Has DeMarcus changed, the way he's come back, does that change the equation for who you might want?
Yeah, I think DeMarcus coming back, he has come back, which is good, and he's come back, and speaking to him, he hasn't shown any ill effects of the injury. He's still trying to get his rhythm back and conditioning, but yeah, that's helpful to give us more information. But again, I mean, I think that as we go through it, we got to be, where do we feel like we might need help? Who might we be playing in the playoffs? Those factors, it's a lot of guesswork, to be honest. I mean, where are we going to stay healthy? Sometimes you just don't know.
Couple free agents out there make you monitor what else is happening around the league also?
No, I mean, the free agent thing's fascinating, right? I mean, I'm a human being, I see it, but the good news is it's February. And I honestly feel like the job's hard enough trying to just win basketball games. There's a time and a place for all that stuff, and that time will certainly come. But I see it. But we're in a unique spot. We're trying to meet our goal of winning another championship, and that maybe people realize it, maybe they don't. But that is really hard by itself without looking anywhere else.
You have to manage that maybe with your players, since there was so much specific chatter about two of your guys with specific scenarios. Do you have, as the general manager, Steve, do you have to manage that at all with your guys?
I think, Tim, if you feel it, you do. I don't necessarily feel that in the locker room personally. I don't feel like it's become part of our fabric. I think maybe that comes from being a team that's been scrutinized for the last 3 or 4 years. It's used to a lot of coverage, which they've earned and deserve. You've got players that have been in a spotlight position for much of their career. So I think it's more a testament, and Steve, who's got a great experience as a player, playing with some high-level guys, coaching our team. He really kind of is the steward of that ship as far as keeping our locker room intact and in a good place. But it's not easy. I mean, it's a hard thing to do, but I don't sense any of that creeping in from my perspective.
You've signed free agents, so you've been the hunter. At any time do you read these stories and get upset, go, why are they have to hear about my guy?
No, I don't get upset. It's a competitive league. I've got great respect for all the other teams. That's what they're supposed to do, right? I mean, I think that's what makes the NBA what it is. It's star players can change narratives of different teams, can change your direction, good and bad. So it's what makes it interesting. It makes the fans stay engaged. It's what gives you all great stories to write. So I don't get mad. I get mad at other things in life. I don't get mad at that.
Was it strange for you to hear Lakers fans chanting "We want Thompson" at Oracle loud enough to be heard?
I mean, usually I grew up where we would be chanting wanting Lakers players, so I guess that's a good place to be in. But no, I mean, it's like, I don't know if Clay, somebody sent me something that it's good to be wanted, right? It's better than not being. But it's part of, again, it's the NBA. I mean, it is a sport, but it's also entertainment, and you want people to engage in it. You want them to feel passionate about it. I only worry about one thing, and is apathy, and there's no apathy in our sport right now. It's in a great spot. You've got great passion, and it's got a great following.
How much do you attribute DeMarcus' smooth transition to Steve's coaching?
I'd say Steve's obviously great at, for not only DeMarcus but all our players, putting them in a position to succeed. And so I think it's a combination of Steve and I'll give DeMarcus credit for just being a smart basketball player, knowing how he fits. He did a good job. Maybe it wasn't as noticeable, but while he wasn't playing, he was watching. He sat on our bench. I mean, he could have easily just sat in the back during all the games, but he watched. He talked to our coaches. He talked to Steve. They went to dinner. How do I fit in? How might you use me? Steve asked him, how do you think I should use you? He watched old film. So there's that. And then there's also our players trying to help DeMarcus fit, giving him opportunities, he creating some of his own. So it's a confluence of things, but Steve's been great with it.
When you drafted Jacob Evans, one of the reasons in the press conference you said you were hoping he could contribute immediately, that he was ready-made. That really hasn't worked out the way you thought. What do you attribute that to?
Just me being wrong. No, I think McKinney's been good. So maybe he would have gotten those minutes, maybe not. I think one of the things that's hard for us, and maybe it's a high-class issue, is we haven't, because of the success of the team, even a guy like Looney took a few years to find his footing because he didn't get a long leash early. Damian Jones we gave him a little bit more opportunity before he got hurt. So unfortunately, when we draft a guy, as much as we'd love to put him out there, sometimes the opportunity doesn't present itself, and we're not in games. All the games matter and are important, and we've got veterans, and so the good thing is he's down there and he needs to play basketball. That's what he's doing in the G League. So mostly attributed to my inability to read the future.
What do you think of the way the team made it through some of the drama that was going on in November, and then some of the injuries, and maybe not winning as much, getting healthy and kind of carrying that to a better place in January where you guys finally got under a roll?
Just decent people going through issues in life. I think one of the things that maybe for those of you that cover our team, they're really good, high-character people, and that allows you to persevere in situations like we all face in any work environment or life where things get difficult, and who rises above it. How do you navigate those things? I attribute it to Steve and his leadership and our players, and they've been through a lot together. A lot of these guys. We've won some championships. We lost one. We've been scrutinized. They've had success. They've had things they've sacrificed. So in all those things, going through things as a group, I think helps you overcome whatever hurdle and obstacle comes your way.
Has the unknown of Kevin worn on the locker room at all, do you think?
No, again, I mean, if we were a young team or a team that I think hadn't been through anything, maybe in 14, 15, not prepared for those type of things. But I think that you've got guys that are probably as versed as any in the league as far as having. We started out with, I think Marcus was our beat writer and Rusty Simmons. So there was two people here. Now there's, I don't know, it's just different. And so I think our players grew up in that too. And so they're more able to understand that for them, the focus is what you do at Oracle Arena 80 or 41 nights a year and then on the road. And so they're good at that. And I honestly think that all our guys really like the game of basketball. As much as goes on around that, it's still basketball. And if you can find a focus and direct it there and enjoy your teammates and being competitive, I mean, our guys are competitive. I think that allows you to not be distracted and to actually enjoy that part.
As you mentioned earlier, there's a time and place for everything, and free agency will obviously work out however it works out. But as far as the organization is concerned at the start of February, specific to Kevin, does everybody feel like he's on track to come back next season?
I mean, I feel like all our players are happy and want to stay with us and continue with us. That's how I feel. But again, I've only worked in the NBA as an agent and in this capacity, and I don't I mean, I thought Jacob Evans was going to be a rotation guy. I don't know. I mean, I feel like we've got a great environment. But again, the focus now is, who we play Wednesday night. We play the Spurs, and I get it that people want to know these answers to these questions. But what I would reconvey is, it's hard to win a basketball game in the NBA. It's hard to win a playoff game. It's hard to win a championship. That has to be our focus, and I think that is our focus. And so. There's the bad news is this: if we're fortunate enough to keep playing and finish in June, there's probably 7 days before the draft and about 12 before free agency. That's unique to our sport. So you really have to do your work in that small period. But I don't think you can even honestly answer anything, and that goes for players too, until the season's over. You could ask anybody in the organization and you say, what kind of season you having? I'd say, ask me when the season's over. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, when we won 73 games, that was awesome until we lost in Game 7 of the finals. So if you say, what kind of season was that? I'd say, well, we got a little banner over there that says 73-9, but it's not as big as those over there that have championships on them. What kind of season was that? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that one out.
There's been different, I mean, I know semantics, but whether you're going to recruit your guys, playing Kevin, obviously, or, you don't recruit. This is just, it is what it is, and you see what their decision is. Is it a recruitment in some ways, though?
We recruit every day. I mean, I'm recruiting every day. If you want to maintain a good working culture, you don't just ignore people until their contract's up or say, hey, you can't leave now anyway. Steve is brilliant at this, and I try to do my small part, but we want to make sure people that come to work, whether you're a player, selling tickets, Eric Housen, our equipment guy, are you enjoying yourself today? So in the moment that everybody becomes free at some point in their contract, or an at-will employee, we want people to want to enjoy coming to work here. That's every single day. That's just being a decent human being. So if you wait, my opinion is if you wait until somebody has an opportunity, you haven't really done your job while they were employed with you. So I think that's our approach with that.
Plus, does it help that Steve's been a GM before as it comes to that kind of stuff, that you guys can kind of know both of each other's responsibilities to a certain degree?
Yeah, no, Steve's a great part. Even if he hadn't, I mean, he's just a great human being. Understands the NBA. I mean, he's fascinating, the things that I learned from him, having had the success he's had, having the perspective he's had. It's never really about him. I mean, you have to remind yourself he has eight championships. I mean, that's just, I don't know that anybody working in the NBA right now has eight championships, but he's really good at understanding what's important and what isn't, and steering that ship. And he's got a great humility about him. He doesn't think he's got it all figured out. He's a really, for me, I'm lucky to have a partner in all this, in this journey like Steve.
Joe told Tim the other day that you guys won't be outspent. When you hear something like that, does it ease your mind as a GM, or I mean, you were already on board, obviously, but I mean, how do you take that when you hear that?
It's better than a guy saying we're not going to spend any money. We better have a budget. Look, I will say this. I've said this before. Someone in my job, my role, you would love to have the support of your ownership saying, if we lose or we're not competitive, it's not going to be because we didn't spend money. And I think the fan base should and does appreciate that, because I'm not sure any fan base cares what the payroll is. All they want to do is win. And so if you have an owner that echoes and embodies that, and the fans are what we do this for, that's got to sound good. And for me, yeah, I mean, it's almost like you're playing a game of poker and your chip stack, yeah, you want a bigger stack. That's just, anybody would want that, because you know what? The truth is you can make more mistakes and play more hands. And that's why what he said is impactful.
When you pick,
We've got to run us with
assuming you get somebody, buyout, free agency, whatever, are you looking somebody who can stay on if they choose to, or is it just a this year thing?
I don't know. I mean, I think, like I said, anybody that we bring in, depending on how things go, we'd love to give them a chance to stay. But I don't know who that is. I don't know when that would be. It's hard to predict. So
if I throw some names out there,
all right, we're done.
Rodney Stuckey.
Is this yours? Stuck.